Hi everyone, and welcome back to Sonya's Prep. For those of you who may be new here, my name is Sonya, and this channel is all about my Orthodox Jewish life and how I cook for my family for Shabbat, how I meal prep in general in the kosher sense of it, how I am a mommy to my 5 kiddos and I work full time, so I take you along on all of these little journeys with me here on my channel. This week is going to be all about how I'm going to be pacing myself for Shabbat, what I'm going to be cooking, and how I get everything done. So I hope you guys all like this video. If you do, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you are new here. Also, I wanted to say that my 2-year YouTube anniversary is coming up in about a month, and to keep the tradition going of every year when I hit another year on YouTube, I do a Q&A video, and this year I want to do one with my husband and I because so many of you have requested it. So leave me all of your questions that you have for us down below. I'll compile all of them and we'll do a really fun Q&A, and it'll be released around mid-February. So I'm very excited for that. Don't forget to leave all of your comments down below. With all of that said, now let's get into the video.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
On Wednesdays, I usually start my Shabbat prep by making my sourdough. So here is some sourdough bread that I'm about to be making. It's nice and jiggly and the dough is just perfect. On Thursdays, I start with most of my other Shabbat preps. Here I have a whole, I think, 2 or 3 heads of garlics, and in order for me to peel them much easier, I do soak them in some boiling water. It just makes the peeling so much more easier. While that's over there soaking, I'm going to be making my deli rolls. It's a nice and delicious appetizer that is a big hit in our house. I have some puff pastry dough over here that I baste with some mustard and then top it with some oven roasted turkey, but you could really make this any which way that you like. If you would like to stay away from processed meats, you can definitely just add in some ground beef and saute that with some onions and place that here instead as well. I do get asked a ton of time on my channel as to why I cook the foods that I do and are they symbolic of anything, and honestly no, it's just the foods that my family enjoys. Another very common question I keep getting on my channel is why is it that I cook as many foods as I do, and that is simply just how I grew up. My mom always cooked a huge variety of food for us. It's like a mini holiday for us every single Shabbat, and I try to continue on with the tradition. Also, I love cooking a lot because it does help me with not having to cook as much throughout the week. This does last me usually until Tuesday, which is great. After basting the deli roll with some egg wash, I do sprinkle on some sesame seeds. I place it onto a tray and bake it at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes until the dough is completely cooked through. Now that it's the winter months, I always love to have a nice delicious soup for Shabbat. Here I have a few lamb steaks in the water over here as you see, and some of the gunk is coming up, so I'm going to be skimming that off as well. This soup works really well with any type of meat. You could either make this with chicken or with beef and it comes out perfectly. While I'm waiting for my soup to boil, the garlic is perfectly ready, so I'm going to be peeling it. And I don't know if you can tell how easy it is to peel this garlic now that it's been soaking for about 5 minutes or so in the boiling water. Once all of the garlics are peeled, I'm going to be adding a very generous amount of oil. And if you want the exact measurements, it's really basically supposed to be floating in oil. I add in some salt, paprika, and some chili flakes. I give everything a nice mix, cover it with some foil, and place it into the same oven at 350 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. I check on it and make sure that it is nice and tender. Now the soup water has boiled nicely, so I'm going to be adding in all of my vegetables. I have some carrots, parsnips, onions, celery, potatoes, and peppers that I'll be going in. I do prefer to chop up my vegetables initially very large, like I'm making a beef broth, and then at the end of about 2 hours of all of that broth developing so nicely, I take out the veggies and cut them as small or as big as I like. Do, however, discard the big onion and the celery, as well as the parsley leaves that I just put in right now. To season the soup, I add in 1 tablespoon of chicken consomme seasoning, as well as 1 tablespoon of salt, a nice amount of bay leaves, some coriander and cumin. I just think it pairs so nicely with the lamb in the soup. And then I add in some black pepper and mix everything really well and let that just cook down for about 2 hours until it's just amazing. Now that a few things are getting cooked, I'm going to be making my osvo, which is a stew that we eat on Saturday for lunch. I'm going to be using my food processor to make this, and I have over here 2 cups of washed rice. In the pot I have a little bit of oil, some meat as well. I'm going to be processing 1 carrot, 1 apple, and 1 tomato, as well as an onion. Place all of the food processed fruits and vegetables into the pot, and I season it with 1 tablespoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of chicken consomme seasoning. I also did add 1 small can of tomato sauce in the pot. Now it's time to add in the water. So for 2 cups of rice, I add in 5 cups of water, and that is the perfect consistency for the osvo. I'm going to be placing it in the fridge so that I can put it on the stove right before Shabbat starts. Well, a few hours before Shabbat starts, so it gets nice and cooked for a little bit. And now I'm going to be moving on to checking what is in my oven. I'm going to be taking out the deli roll as well as the garlic, and I'll show you what they look like. I find myself making this garlic so much more often in the winter months. It's just something nice and hearty and delicious to spread on your bread. My husband and kids love it as well. It has a nice spice to it. And as you can see, the garlic is nice and tender and soft. So now that that's ready, I'll be placing it into a container and storing it in the fridge. The deli roll is perfectly cooked as well, nice and crispy, and we can't wait to dive into it. Next up, for our main meal for Friday night, I'll be sharing with you how I make my stuffed vegetables, mostly stuffed tomatoes. So I take these plum tomatoes, I chop off the end of it, and I use this teaspoon to scoop out the insides of it. But nothing is going to be going to waste. Whatever I'm going to be scooping out, I will be using in the foods that I'll be showing you a little later. For the filling, I'm going to be using about 2 cups of ground meat, 3/4 cup of rice. The tomatoes that we've carved out, I'm going to be placing into the filling as well. About half of that, some cilantro or parsley. 1 onion is going to be grated, and half of an apple, a green apple or whatever apple that you have. I'm going to be food processing all of that and adding that into the filling as well. Love adding fresh herbs to this dish, so use whatever herbs you like and enjoy. I have here a little bit of dill and a little bit of cilantro. To season this, I'm going to be adding about 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of chicken consomme seasoning. I'm going to mix everything really well and stuff all of the vegetables into the pot. Here I do have a little bit of oil, a small can of tomato sauce, and a few bits of lamb bones that I have, but you could use beef, you could use marrow bones, you could use any type of bones. It just provides a lot of flavor into the meal. I start by stuffing the large peppers so that it could be a nice base into the pot, and then I proceed to stuff all of the tomatoes, and I add all of that into the pot as well. Whatever filling I do have left over, I either usually freeze or I make into little balls, meatballs, and I place them on the very top. My kids actually prefer to eat those little bits of meatballs on the top because they feel like it's gross eating things that are stuffed in vegetables. They're going through that phase now. So whenever I serve them, I just take out that meat portion and they enjoy it. I do add a little bit of water about halfway through. I don't add too much because the actual vegetables will give off a lot of water on their own. I top everything with tomato sauce. I cover the lid and place all of this into the refrigerator as well. And I'll bake it Thursday night. Right now I think it's too early to bake it, so I'll be baking it a little bit later. I also fried up some flounder, but I didn't record it. I made it a bunch of times on my channel. All I did was dip the flounder into some flour and then into some egg wash seasoned with salt and black pepper, and I fried it in some oil. Now it's time to be making our truffle mayo salmon. I made this in a different video and everyone really loved it. I made this recipe in the air fryer and everyone really loved it, so I wanted to recreate this as a Shabbos recipe. So here is how you make it. Into 2 tablespoons of mayo, I add in about 2 tablespoons of truffle oil, some salt, paprika, and fish seasoning go in next. I also have tons of dill and garlic that I've chopped up here on the side. I'm going to be adding a bunch of it in there. I'm going to give everything a really good mix and baste the salmon with this deliciousness. I also got 1 small bronzino that I wanted to make. I used the rest of that chopped up garlic and I smeared it all over the fish. I used some salt, fish seasoning, and some citrus garlic seasoning that I got in Trader Joe's. I put that all over the fish and I sprayed it with some oil and I baked it in the oven. Now I want to share with you a delicious eggplant salad. Everything is done on broil in the oven and it is super delicious. I have here a red pepper as well as a yellow pepper that I chop up into cubes. I'm also going to be doing the exact same thing with the eggplant. Season the salad, I add in some salt and black pepper, and you do need to use about a quarter cup of oil or even half a cup of oil and not spray it like I'm doing it here. Eggplants really soak in so much oil, so it's definitely better to bake it than to fry it because you do use less oil. But by me spraying it like I did over here, I needed to still add oil at the end of it because it just was not frying up nicely. So just add in a quarter cup and add if you need to a little bit later. But it comes out absolutely gorgeous. I have tons of herbs here as well. I have some dill and parsley and a nice amount of garlic. I added in some vinegar and a nice dollop of ketchup. Ketchup already has that vinegary taste to it. I know it sounds weird to add ketchup into a salad, but trust me guys, you are going to love it. Now look at that. Isn't that so stunning and gorgeous? And the flavor is incredible with all of the garlic, the citrus, and the herbs. Truly phenomenal. I hope you guys make it and let me know how you like it in the comments down below. The branzino fish is now ready. It's been cooked through in the oven. The salmon is also fully ready and looks incredibly delicious and so very moist because of all the mayo that we added, and it's filled with so much flavor with the garlic and the herbs as well as that truffle oil. Here I'm making a few dips. I'm making tahini dip and hummus. I do already have these recipes up on my channel. I'll have it linked up above and I'll have it linked down below. Now that the tahini is ready, I'm going to be placing the majority of it into a bowl. It's going to be one of our dips, and I do leave a little bit left over so that I can make my hummus with it. Again, I do have a full recipe on how I made this in a separate video, so I'll have that link down below. All I do is to the little bits of tahini that I have left over, I'm going to be adding in a can of garbanzo beans, a few cloves of garlic, a squeeze of lemon that I'm going to be dropping into it, and I add in a little bit of oil. I food process all of that. To make the hummus nice and fluffy, I do add in 2 ice cubes inside of it while it's food processing, and it comes out perfect. The sourdough loaves are all baked as well. I did try something new this time around. I wanted to make some sandwich bread, and I used the exact same recipe that I used for my sourdough, and I just shaped it in a different way, and I baked it in the same way, and it came out perfect and soft. A few weeks ago, we were invited to a friend's house and she served some homemade hummus with some truffle oil and these mushrooms over the top of it. I was in love with it. My husband and I could not stop eating it, and I absolutely had to recreate it. So thank you, Jennifer, so much for this idea. I have some mushrooms here that I'll be slicing thinly and sauteing it with some salt and black pepper. And all I'm going to be doing right before I'm going to be serving my hummus is placing the hummus on a plate, putting those nice mushrooms over the top of it and putting a nice generous amount of truffle oil over the top. I also made this roasted eggplant salad that I do have a video all about in a separate video, so I'm going to be linking that as well. And that is all of the prep that I did for my Shabbat. If I do have the time, while I'm especially waiting for everything to cool off on Thursday night right before I go to bed, I love to set up my table. So I'm going to be setting up my table here for Shabbat. I'm so excited to be using these decorizers for the first time this Shabbat. They're so beautiful. They're a beautiful centerpiece on your Shabbat table or any holiday. It comes in a variety of different colors and different shapes. There's square ones, there's circular ones, and some are silver and gold and white. I just love the gold and white. They just complement what I have in my home already, and they came with a beautiful tray. So I'm going to be placing all of my yummy salads that I made for Shabbat, and I'm going to be placing it into these decorizers, and I am so in love with how it looks and how it turned out. I'll have their website and their Instagram linked down below for you guys to check them out. There's just something that's so beautiful to wake up on a Friday morning and seeing your Shabbat table set just puts everyone in the mood. Everything looks nice and pretty, and I do definitely have the kids help out on Friday after school. They'll put the napkins and the silverware, and it's just, I love going to sleep on a Thursday night seeing this. This week's Shabbat meal prep. I hope you guys got some inspiration from it. I hope you guys learned maybe some new recipes, and I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. And if you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you want to get notified on the videos that I'll be posting next, just click on that subscribe button or that notification bell. It'll just let you know when I'm uploading new content. Don't forget to leave your comments down below and any of your questions. I think it's going to be very interesting. With all that said, I wanted to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom from my family to yours.